Welcome to the MSDW Podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com. On this episode, I speak with Joe Corigliano of the eXtreme365 organization. He's an organizer of this week's eXtreme365 US event in Long Beach. It's a complex time for the Microsoft channel, both for partners and for Microsoft, with huge changes underway with one commercial partner and an evolving partner opportunity related to Dynamics and its surrounding technology. Joe and I chat about the event as it winds down this week and about what lays ahead for both the channel and for the conference itself. All right, Joe Corigliano, thank you for joining me on the podcast here. Great to have you.
Thank you, Jason. Good to be here.
So I thought maybe we could start by talking a little bit, just maybe having you introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background and where we find ourselves this week here at eXtreme365 in Long Beach.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Yeah, I have been in the biz app space most of my life. I started in 1991 as a recovering accountant that wanted to get into technology, and have spent the last 27 years in biz apps, companies like Sage and Solomon. And then I went through the journey with Great Plains into Microsoft. I spent about 15 years with Microsoft and always working with partners. And I've been involved producing events for Microsoft partners for the last couple of years. And that's what I do today. I help produce the eXtreme365 event.
And we're here on the final day of the 2017 U.S. event. It's been a busy week. I know it's been a busy week for you, of all people. So I appreciate you being able to sit down for a few minutes here. I did not know you were a recovering CPA, though. That's very interesting, sort of addition to sort of coloring who you are and where your background comes from. You do hear that a lot at these events. A lot of recovering reformed CPAs.
Yeah, it was kind of a blessing for me. You know, I enjoyed accounting, and getting the accounting degree. And I thought I was going to go into public accounting, went to Coopers and Lybrand, and kind of had a nirvana after a couple of years that I wanted to be in the technology space. And the blessing was kind of mixing technology with accounting. At the time, it wasn't called the ERP industry; it was the accounting software industry.
Right.
And now it's now the biz apps industry. So yeah, it all came from accounting.
And I mean, if you look from there to here, I mean, this week's event might be unrecognizable to people working back then in terms of some of the themes that are coming out, some of the things that Microsoft as a technology company is talking about to its partners. I've spent the last couple of days myself listening, chatting with people here at the event, trying to kind of get my head around what is really happening, what's really changing, and there's a lot changing. I think in terms of technology versus partnerships and channel activity. Different things are changing at different speeds. I would say this. If I had to characterize this event, and I'm sure you can tell me what you think, but this event is really has really seemed to focus around how partners' businesses and partners' relationships with Microsoft are changing.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think we are in the midst of the change that Microsoft is going through to the cloud, and partners are coming with them to the cloud or not. Some will move and change their business model and their strategy and evolve, and some will maybe have more of a lifestyle business, and that's okay too. But we tend to attract the former, the ones that are evolving. We had a keynote speaker here today, Sid Mahasab, who just produced a book on change, and he had some very direct dialogue with the executives that attended, and did a great keynote on the importance of having to change and stop your thought patterns. And so yeah, the channel is definitely evolving, and Microsoft is evolving. So.
You mentioned Sid, and I was able to sit in on a talk he did before his keynote to the executive exchange portion of this event, and I thought he did a very noteworthy job in not only sort of talking about some of those themes, but getting partner executives, the folks who run these businesses that sell with Microsoft and that share clients with Microsoft, to get them to think a little more holistically, I felt, about, or open up maybe a little more than they would normally about some of the challenges they face from all directions, not just the products they're getting back from Microsoft or the relationship specifically with Microsoft technology teams or whatever, but more of sort of the overall things that their business faces. So I gave and I chatted with him after that event, and I thought that was a nice way to sort of frame up the event, especially for the executive level people who are here.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very deliberate in his word choice. He asked the partners in the room to stop their addictive thought process, which is thinking about how things were in the past. And so, kind of a significant word, you're addicted to how you think. So if you stop that process and think differently, is what he encouraged. And it's true. I mean, what has happened within Microsoft and within the industry is very dramatic. I heard Toby Bowers during the Q&A say, I mean, this is probably the greatest sales reorganization ever of any technology company, of what Microsoft did with the move of the realignment and the one commercial partner. And so it's a radically new way of doing business with Microsoft, and we're in the first couple months of it. And so we were very blessed to have Microsoft come and really articulate where this one commercial partner group is going and how partners should think about it. I think they did a great job during the Q&A, and partners just have to think differently and begin to process how to engage with Microsoft very differently.
I agree. I think that was a really remarkable thing for him to say, and I think to me, it seemed like a little bit out of character to hear that sort of a statement from Microsoft. It said to me, it seemed like it was an indication maybe that there's more self-reflection going on within Microsoft as a company than maybe you would have heard from them in past years. And I think that maybe that's part and parcel with the way executives are sort of enforcing this need for change and maybe trying to push through some of this one commercial partner change in inside and outside the company, that they have to sort of face some of these things that they weren't facing.
Yeah,
really.
I think what Toby was probably saying, I didn't talk to him about it, is if you look at the number of people in the Microsoft sales and partner organization that have literally shifted jobs and shifted into a new organization structure, that's probably the biggest change in terms of sheer number of sales and partner people and workforce.
Yeah, my sense is talking to people here this week after hearing from Ron Huddleston and the three sort of U.S. subsidiary VPs who sort of represent one commercial partner in the U.S., which I thought was a great approach, and I think it really did resonate with partners as almost like a teaching tool to sort of hear these sort of not personas, but people representing these different components of that organization on stage. That just how much work Microsoft still has to do. I mean, the word is that I've been hearing this week that there's a ton of hiring still going on at Microsoft to fill out a lot of the roles to meet the capacity or to meet the demand from what partners are actually doing in the field, and just a lot of work before the partners maybe get it. They get the message. I think it's a structure that I love that Ron Huddleston called it a command and control management structure, with these kind of clearly defined components or cogs in it. But until partners actually see it touching their businesses, I think that's where they're going to sort of withhold judgment until that point. I think beyond what they've heard this week, and who knows when that exactly is going to start to happen for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think two things. Number one, every Dynamics partner, who didn't listen to the keynote should watch the stream on our website.
To that.
And it's what was it? 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Take 50 minutes of your life. Try to absorb where they're going even if there's a dozen questions and you don't understand terms, write them down and ask about them. Just grasp it, and it will continue to make sense. So that's one comment that I'd make and provide as advice to the partners. Just listen to where they're going. They did a detailed Q&A, and they tried to make it very relevant for the Dynamics partner. And then the second thing I'd say is that the partners that I do talk to, the ones that are, maybe have been around longer and have worked with Microsoft longer, I haven't heard one partner say anything negative about it. Like no one has said, oh God, what, they just blew it up, something that was working. And the partners that are really successful with Microsoft really are embracing the change. And I shared that with Ron and the team. They're embracing it and seeing it positively. And so I do think it bodes well for Dynamics and Dynamics partners, and they're going to continue to refine it.
Yeah.
Biz Apps is one of 4. They call them plays. I don't want to use words that don't make sense to your listeners, but it's Biz Apps, it's Modern Workplace, it's Data and AI, and it's Apps and Infrastructure. So it's one of 4 ways of Microsoft going to market and working with partners. So it's we at Dynamics are a big deal in the greater cog of Microsoft. Bigger than ever.
And I can certainly appreciate the way it's been organized, and as you just described. But boy, it is a complicated sort of set of machinery to move forward from Microsoft's point of view, because that does help explain it. But and then you have at the next level down, when you're talking about, because some of these are very complex sales to make in the field. The sales on the the data and AI side are going to be completely different from the business app side. Trying to for Microsoft to make sense of those and the different people responsible for maybe seeing those components through in different countries, in different regions, whatever the case may be, working with different partners. It's all very very complex, I would say, and certainly to my perspective, this does make sense to me in terms of trying to keep those efforts organized in a way that maybe they were totally disorganized before.
Well, from a partner perspective, the complexity when you have an ecosystem of Dynamics, it's think of the ecosystem. We have ISVs, we have SIs, we have GSIs, we have large regional providers. There are accounting firms with a technology practice. There are big companies, small companies, and so it's a diverse ecosystem with lots of different business models in it. So trying for your own unique business model to map is going to be a challenge if it doesn't make sense what they're saying. And all I'd say is that if you ask enough questions and you're committed to Azure, you will find answers of what probably will work for you within Microsoft. I mean, that would be my sentiments.
But before I let you go here, I wanted to talk a little bit about your impressions from the executive exchange portion of this week's event. I thought it was a really successful component of the event. I've heard great things from the people who attended it. I was fortunate enough to be able to sit in on some of it, which was really eye-opening to me too. It's wrapped up now. What have you taken away from that component of the event?
Yeah, well, for those of you listeners who aren't familiar, we bring Dynamics partner executives in for 2 days of partner-to-partner exchange. This year it was moderated by a gentleman from Microsoft who's been in the industry for a while and a partner. We develop an agenda based on topics that are relevant today. And what I could say in summary is that we had partners from around the world come into it, and it was very really gratifying at the end to everybody took a glass of wine. I think you were there, and we took a group photo, and people were saying this is the best use of time that they've had all year in both networking, content, taking things that are relevant, bringing it back to their practice. So we live and breathe Dynamics, and we talk to partners every day. So we want that exchange to be valuable, and so we got really, really good feedback, and we're going to continue to do it and build upon it.
Yeah, I mean, I even heard from some partners that, they've attended it in Europe, in the European events that you've held, and they'll just come here because it's like an additional opportunity to sort of have that experience. I think it's unique, and it's good that Microsoft is there hearing that, because it's it's not what they traditionally do. I don't think Microsoft in interacting with their partner channel. But I got the sense personally that the people there that represented Microsoft were they're sort of communicating in a way that they don't maybe do on a daily basis when they're talking to them.
I think what it says is executives crave interaction with other Dynamics executives in a forum that isn't necessarily overly structured by Microsoft. I think the fact that we're a third-party event and we have it moderated in an objective way is a good thing. But we want to build upon it, and I think it's a unique part of our event and kind of the value prop of coming.
At the same time, there were a lot of good questions and concerns coming from partners. I would just add, on the sort of more tactical side, a lot of the right Microsoft representatives on the product side too, from Mike Ehrenberg on down, through some of product managers, program managers for CRM, and not necessarily a lot of sort of new revelations, but certainly a sense that to my mind anyway, partners are working pretty hard to understand what the product direction is. And it's not 100% clear when they get here. Partners, are paying attention. Microsoft obviously does some educational stuff, but I see like they're doing a blitz on the CRM, the Dynamics 365 sales and related apps next week, to just kind of keep briefing partners on what's going on. But I mean, I think the message there is, things are moving quick enough that partners are still running to keep up with it. Well, I don't know. Any other final thoughts? I mean, you've been moving 100 miles an hour all week. I'm sure you're going to need a little time to decompress after today when the event closes out. But anything else you'd add?
No, I just it's been a great week, and we feel very blessed to have this community, and the community is partners. It's partners that come and sponsor the event. It's yourself coming, and it's Microsoft. We had just really grateful that people who have tons of responsibility, like Mike Ehrenberg, you said, and Ron Huddleston, and the U.S. team. They took time out to do this and to be part of it and to network with partners. That's what this is all about. And so we feel we had a great event. We're planning very hard for Croatia, Dubrovnik, Croatia, March 18th is our next event, and it's in the books, and we go right into execution mode on the next event. Hope you're going to come.
Great location. I do hope to make it there as well. Wouldn't want to miss it. So, okay,
Game of Thrones. You got to watch Game of Thrones. That's where they film it.
Yeah, you really can't beat the locale, can't beat the scenery from what I've read. I've not been there, but sounds pretty cool.
People are going to love it if you haven't been to Dubrovnik. It's really great, special.
All right. Well, Joe, thanks for taking the time to be here. It's fun, and thanks again for having me at the event.
Thanks, Jason.
This has been another episode of the MSDW Podcast. My thanks to Joe Corigliano of eXtreme365 for joining me today. You can reach me by email, jgumpert@msdynamicsworld.com. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World signing off.